Choosing a car is a very difficult decision. Not only have you got a huge choice of manufacturers, there's also a vast array of body styles to choose between. Do you go for a estate or an SUV? Do you go for a saloon or a hatchback? Do you go for a coupe or a convertible? All very standard decisions. However, for those people who are stuck between the choice of coupe or SUV, you could always go for one of these. It's a BMW X4. Actually, when you look at the kind of SUVs that you can buy these days, a sporty SUV doesn't actually seem like such a strange idea after all. The X4 goes up against the likes of the Audi SQ5 and the Porsche Macan. Now, if you go for the version with this engine, that is a 3-litre diesel, then it is a very quick car. When we took it out on our tests, we saw 0 to 60 miles an hour in around 5.7 seconds. Now, there is a more sensible version, that is this version, and that is a 2-litre diesel. But even that is not exactly slow. That'll get from 0 to 60 in around 8 seconds. Now, given that BMW has made this car look like a massive sports car, it is also not much of a surprise that it handles like a sports car, albeit quite a large one. The steering is very sharp to respond, so it's not only entertaining when you fling it down a back road, but it is also very easy to manoeuvre around town. The automatic gearbox is lovely and sharp as well. However, it is also very nice and smooth when you want to just leave it to its own devices and just waft along quite happily. If you are just wafting along for hours, then this car will soak up pretty much any sort of imperfection there is on the road surface. It is worth saying though that this car does have an optional adaptive suspension system on it. However, given that is a very worthwhile addition to smaller and cheaper BMWs, it's fair to say it is well worth considering on this car as well. The only real downside is the noise in the cabin. This diesel engine, it's got quite a sort of grumbly, gravelly note to it, and there is a fair amount of wind noise that comes off those pretty big door mirrors when you get up to speed. It's not overbearing, it's just obviously there, and it's a bit of a shame really. Now, because the big changes over the X3 are from sort of here backwards, everything is pretty familiar up here. The materials all feel fantastic, everything's logically laid out, and it is easy to get comfy, although on the entry-level models you do have to make do with manual seat adjustment. It is overall pretty standard BMW fare. It's a bit of a shame that though really, because bearing in mind that you're in a car that has got these sort of sporty pretensions, there's nothing here to give that away. It's just a standard BMW cockpit. One thing you do get is a fantastic level of equipment, and that includes an upgraded media system. And that means that every BMW X4 comes with a satellite navigation system as standard, and it is a fantastic system as well. You can control it through this dial and buttons down here, and with barely any practice at all, you can learn how to change between the systems without taking your eyes off the road. The other big thing is visibility, and obviously you're sat pretty high up in this car. It's an SUV, and these big windows out the front mean that you can see loads looking forward. However, you might have noticed there's a bit of a swoop to this roof. There is a massive pillar at the back there. It's not very easy to see past that. And the rear screen is tiny. It's just as well you get parking sensors as standard. You will need them. Now, because this car is so similar to the X3 up front, there is plenty of room for front seat passenger and driver. Then if you want more information on the X3, then do check out our full video road test of it. Click here to do so. Back here is where it is a little bit different. Now, if you're buying a car like this, then you're making a bit of a statement, and part of that statement is you're not too bothered about carrying loads of people. Strictly speaking, there are 3 seats across here, but this middle one isn't really up to much. There's not much in the way of headroom, legroom's not that great, and to be honest, it's pretty uncomfy and hard. It really is just an occasional seat. And on the flip side, it does mean that there is a fair amount of space for 2 back here. There's a good amount of elbow room, and sat over here there's a good amount of head and leg room. Oddly though, this floor is really high up, so that means my feet are higher than I would expect them to be, and there's loads of room between my legs and the seat. And that's fine on short journeys, but on longer trips it's going to get pretty uncomfortable after a while. Now, on paper, the boot is a decent size. At about 500 litres, it's pretty much the same size, in fact, as the one in the Porsche Macan. However, this is where this swoopy rear boot line comes into play once again. It sort of cuts the corner off the space. It's fine if you're loading in soft bags, etc., but if you want to carry something big like a chest of drawers or something like that, it's not going to be as up to the job. Otherwise, it's not too bad. There is a bit of a loading lip, but it's only a couple of inches or so, and when you drop the seats, you get a totally flat space. The problem is, however, that you have to go round here and drop the seats and then walk around the other side to drop the other one. There are no quick release handles in the boot to do it as you get in other cars like the BMW 3 GT. Now, with prices starting at around £35,000, the X4 is not exactly a budget purchase. However, you get absolutely everything you could possibly want thrown in with that price. Even on the entry-level car, you get stuff like Bluetooth, you get DAB digital radio, you get sat-nav, you get cruise control, automatic tailgate, parking sensors, heated leather seats, 18-inch alloy wheels, and xenon headlights. To be honest, it's all you could really want from an X4. If you do go for the other trim levels, that's X-Line and M-Sport, then the additions are pretty much cosmetic. Although on the M-Sport you do get stiffer M-Sport suspension, so be aware of that. That will change how the car rides. Now, it's too soon for the X4 to have appeared in any of our customer satisfaction surveys, obviously, but BMW as a whole has done fairly averagely in the JD Power surveys of late. The X3, for example, finished about halfway down in the most recent survey. One other really important thing to consider as far as this car is concerned is that it is not predicted to hold its value that well. That means it won't be worth as much in a few years' time, and that will also have a knock-on effect on things like lease rates. So, would we buy a BMW X4? Honestly, we'd have to say no. The BMW X3 does pretty much everything that this car does, but adds a bit more in the way of space in the back seat and the boot. What if you're tempted by the sportiness though? Well, that's a little bit of a trickier one. The Porsche Macan is marginally the more entertaining car to drive, but the X4 is not far behind. If you're after a sporty SUV, then this car is well worth a test drive. So while you're here, do check out the rest of our videos, including that one of the BMW X3, and don't forget to click subscribe and keep up to date with all of our video road tests.